Yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boys Jack and Dave here, and we are going to be talking about the one and only Daniel Levy, and he has come out with some quotes and has potentially been interested in some minority stake investment, some outside investment into the club. Looks like he's asking for help, and we're going to discuss whether it's even real, whether there's actually much behind this story. If we do think there's anything behind it, we can go a bit further, a bit deeper, think where is it going to come from? How much is it really going to be? What sort of areas is that investment going to be geared towards and aimed towards? But these are the quotes that Daniel Levy has just come out with first. And then I'm going to go to Dave here. He did say, to continue to invest in the teams and undertake future capital projects, the club requires a significant increase in its equity base. The board and its advisors, Rothschild and Co., are in discussions with prospective investors. Any recommended investment proposal would require the support of the club's shareholders. Now, Dave, you and I on this channel, we've done these type of stories, these sort of articles in the past. I think there was that guy from Phoenix, Arizona, that was connected with getting a huge stake investment in Spurs. Formula One guy, he was investing or, linked with investing in Spurs. I believe the Man United takeover from Qatar, the man behind that was looking at Spurs as an alternative. We've seen these stories. We've heard these stories in the past, and they eventually kind of bumbled up into being nothing, really. So do you see that being the case here, or is this story, these quotes from Daniel Levy, slightly different than maybe the past? Could this lead to something?
They also had the meeting out in the Bahamas with some
That's
guys,
right.
some billionaire out there. So there's been quite a few of them over the last few years. Look, Dan Levy has always sort of battered him away when the stories have come off the back of these meetings about maybe potential investment and takeovers and stuff like that. And he's always knocked them back. But they do say no smoke without fire. When you look at the latest financial reports, I think we made a loss of 80 million euro. And over the last 3 years, I think it's up to 200 million euro that we've sort of made a loss on. Now, when you look at the way the club like to operate, which is the self-sustainable model, they can't keep going on the way they're going with investment into the squad, repaying the stadium debt and all that sort of stuff and still try and be self-sustainable. When you calculate in the losses that we've made off the signings from the Steve Hitchen era, which we're never going to recoup, which takes a massive hit in that regard because you're not getting any money in for a lot of these guys and you have to spend out big money to bring players in to get the squad to some sort of level. You look at what happened to Joe Lewis recently, how much money is left in that trust fund, in the fund that they have to carry the club and stuff like that. And also all the diverse revenue streams that Daniel Levy has created, which is more than most football clubs have today, is still not enough to be able for this club to turn over a profit when you weigh up what we brought in and what we pay out and stuff like that. So I do think we're at the point where maybe his own self-sustainable model has brought us so far. But in order for us to actually compete and do what the fans want us to do, which is actually go and try and compete for trophies, I think maybe the realization is kicking in that he does need investment to help.
Yeah, he can't have it all ways, or he can't have it, the manner in which he sort of had set out from the beginning. And you did reference, right, that 86 million pound loss in this financial year. And he did say that that was due to significant and continued investment in the playing squad, which then leads me to ask you, Dave, is this sort of rumor, these talks that he's having about outside investment, is it more to do with asking for help, asking for assistance, some extra aid in being able to, bring in new players every year, the new 60 million pound center mid that Spurs will eventually need, the replacement for Sonny in the near future could cost a lot of money for a big forward like that. These sort of big spending type signings. Is Daniel Levy growing a bit tired of it? Perhaps doesn't want to really, give up much more money in that regard. And he's looking for somebody else to kind of help him out in, the continued investment in the playing squad, because that's what he referenced as the reason for the loss in revenue, but also kind of the potential kind of reason for why he's even having these talks in the first place.
No, 100%. I think it is to maybe push the squad on to a new level. Like I sort of alluded to, when you look at a lot of the players that we've had to let go in recent years, even this year, Perisic, Dyer, Hugo Lloris in January. Not a single fee recoup for any of them. Look at the amount of players that we've pushed out on loan, the likes of Endo Pele, the big money, the big wages and stuff like that. He's got 1 year left on his contract. We ain't going to recoup anything off that. So the money that we've put in there, what are we going to recoup from that? So we've actually lost a lot of money on the playing side.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's sort of been hit and miss over the last few years. Since Paratici's come in, they've got a lot of it right. But in order to push this forward, and because no matter how much revenue streams he makes, we've got a load of money to pay off the stadium and stuff like that. We also took out a loan over COVID that needs to be repaid and all that sort of jazz. In order, we're also trying to keep up to date with rejuvenating this playing squad, which you have to keep doing every single season in order to compete and grow and stuff like that. I think it's coming to the realization he needs help with it. I think it has been forced from the bad recruitment from Steve Hitchen with the huge wages we were paying out, some of the transfer fees, and not recouping much for any of these guys. That all has a knock-on effect. The money that maybe he was generating from all these diverse revenue streams, rather than that actually, turn over and profit and go into the playing squad and stuff like that, it's not. It's having to cover the losses of everything that on these guys. So I think it's at the point where when you look at the Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis and that, they want to be self-sustainable. They don't want to put in the money that it takes for us to keep rejuvenating this squad. So that money is going to have to come from somewhere, and it does look like it's going to have to come from investment, Jack.
It is going to look like it's going to have to come out from the outside. And I could see Daniel Levy getting a little tired of having to continue to invest in the squad. I don't really sympathize with him. That's what you have to do as an owner. But it does seem like what you brought up with the Steve Hitchen sort of failed transfers and everything. Is he really willing to just go through this perpetual cycle of just constantly having to reinvigorate the squad, rejuvenate it, like you say? And it's going to maybe, I don't know, kind of cause him some sort of annoyance, or he's just kind of growing tired of it. I think it's a little silly. That's part of, like I said, your job as an owner. It's your job to continue to reinvest in that football club, especially on the pitch. It just seems like he's looking for someone else to help him out in that regard. And maybe too, like you look at how Spurs have sort of done their investment. It's more in trying to unearth, these gems, find deals here and there to then, bring out a brilliant player that they originally spent 10 million on, now is worth 90 million. That's where Daniel Levy seems to prefer to even invest money. If it is going to be on the pitch, it's going to be for those type of players. But when we're looking at, let's say, Alexander Isak, has been connected to us, the LEVY sort of transfers, the Pedro Neto transfers, these 50 million, 60 million, 70 million pound players, we have bought recently, and we have been spending more money, I think, recently. It's just that, does he want to continue to do it in that manner? Does he maybe want someone else to start kind of forking over some money to help pay for those sort of type of signings? Because he's always seemed more keen anyways on kind of finding somebody that he can buy for only so much and then be able to sell on, or be able to, get the most profit out of later on. And Paratici has done a very good job with that with him. But then you compare him to the days of Steve Hitchen, who was trying to do a similar thing, just kept failing and failing and failing with those. It ended up costing him in the long run. So now he's probably seeing like he can't just continue to find these sort of, cheap signings, these cheap deal, gem of players. He has to do a mixture of both. And with a mixture of both, it's going to need to come with big investment and big transfers. And that's never been Daniel Levy's game. It's never been what he's like to do, is to throw money at big targets, at big players. So that's why he's probably looking from someone else to help him out. I also wanted to, go ahead.
Just quickly, when you look at it, right, you say, he's got no other option but to take the investment, right? We've already sold off the best player that we have to try and rejuvenate the squad, right? We've still got a lot more work to do, despite selling off Harry Kane for 100 million and stuff like that. We don't have that guy to sell now. You some people would say, oh, but you could put Son in the window. At 32, 33 years of age, he ain't getting anywhere near 100 million, in my opinion. After Sonny, what else have you got to sell on to be able to rake in 100, 120 million and reinvest that into the squad? We don't have that right now. And if you look to go and sell the likes of Van Ven and Romero and stuff, fans won't have it after selling the likes of Harry Kane and stuff, because the whole idea is to push forward. So I actually think he's caught between a rock and a hard place now, and he has no option.
I think that's very well pointed out, that he actually is in sort of a stuck position. I don't think he could even try to get away with selling some of those diamonds of players, because we've all fallen in love with them and we've only had them for so long anyway. So to then do that, kind of digging yourself a hole, because you still would have to replace them, right? And who's to say you would even get anyone as good or anyone better? Kind of where is the investment going to come from then, Dave? Do you see it coming from, does it matter to Daniel Levy where the investment comes from? Or do you think he might prefer, the way I see it, to answer this question, I think he would prefer someone that would not have as much influence over kind of the day-to-day runnings of the club, what this person who's coming in with the stake investment for is just trying to get a foot in the Premier League, wants to have, a bit of the piece of the very golden pie that is owning a Premier League football club and investing in it. They'll see the returns, they'll see the money and the profits come with it because, a team like Spurs do know how to generate money in so many different ways. It isn't a losing investment. But do you think it's going to be someone that he will, have to be on good terms with? It won't just be someone that, it's just some random outside investor he's never spoken with before. It seems like Daniel Levy, for this investor, he's probably going to have multiple meetings, multiple coffee sessions and chats, near a fireplace with, so that he can really feel like he's comfortable with that person. He doesn't come across to me as someone who's just going to say yes to the highest bidder. He's actually more likely, I think, to say yes to somebody who he knows he can probably trust, isn't going to have too much influence over his job, over his rulings, because Daniel Levy, he is a hard man to work with, and he has a certain way of handling things. So, for example, maybe someone like the Sheikh, who was connected to buying, Man United, that guy seemed to have really big dreams, really big plans, wanted to spend his money straight away on that football team. And would Daniel Levy let him in? Because that guy seems like he would be a big voice, a big character, big influence. And there can only be so many people in a room like that. He doesn't seem to like those type of characters that would perhaps rock with his sort of or mess with his style, so to speak.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens here. Look, ideally, I think when we hear investment, we're all initially thinking of sugar daddy, billions of pounds. He's just going to pump it in. Daniel Levy, I want you to go out and buy this player, this player, this player, this player. Go and do it. It's not your money, it's mine. Go and do it. However, I would urge an air of caution around that, because with Daniel Levy, we know he wants to be sort of in full control and full power and stuff like that. So I don't think he's going to have a sugar daddy coming in telling him what to do. So I would err side of caution of getting too excited about this investment. When I look around at what's left to investment, a lot of the stuff that Tottenham still have to build when they got planning permission for the stadium, the likes of the hotel and stuff like that, will that money come in and be invested more into the brick and mortar of stuff that still has to be built and stuff? It's sort of hard to know, what way this investment is coming in. And I'm not going to sit and hazard a guess either, because it could go either way. I don't want to get too excited and then the guys coming in invested into the hotel and everything else.
Yeah.
Because, investing into brick and mortar is usually where you get your money back. Investing into football clubs is actually where you usually lose your money. And I would think that guy that's coming in to invest money is looking at Tottenham. You're going to put some money in, for whatever bits and pieces it may be, knowing that when Tottenham gets sold, he's probably going to get, double, triple, quadruple his sort of original investment. And between that, how much money are they really going to influx into the club? So I'm not getting way too excited on it yet.
No, I'm in full agreement with you. I just don't see Daniel Levy willing to let somebody who has big pockets and, let's say, big ideas and big influence to come in here. He just wants somebody to probably give him the money that would help him out when it comes to buying these players, but he probably doesn't want that person to have much say really in sort of how he operates and how he envisions the future of the club. He just doesn't come across as that sort of guy to me, Daniel Levy. I think he would even rather probably take less money, just knowing that the person who he's accepted a deal with is sort of on the same page and on the same sort of terms with him as to how Spurs should operate. Believe me, I'm actually won't really care too much whether it's a big sugar daddy or not. I think Dave and I are just sort of, maybe if we were to get this minority stake investment, we were to I think we would guess that it would not likely be someone who's just, a big sort of new investor that's just looking to spend tons and tons of money straight away and kind of, out influence him really in that sort of shareholders kind of group. But yeah, I don't really think he cares though either, whether it's from the Middle East or whether it's Americans or anything like that. I think it's more about how does that person engage with him? How does that person see the future of the football club, etc. That's who I think he really cares about most. So it's really, I don't even know if it's actually more likely going to be an American or more likely going to be someone from Asia or from the Middle East or whatever it may be. I think it's just more on who is he on better terms with. And the way I see it, Dave, my last sort of thought here is I don't know if this is going to happen anytime soon. Because the way I understand Levy seems to take his time with this thing. Even the previous people that he has met with, that has been confirmed that he's met with these guys, seemed like it was all just sort of, getting to feel each other, understanding the waters type of meetings, nothing actually that serious, just almost like a culture type of meeting. Like, maybe I like you, maybe you like me. After that, we'll see if we can do something together. But it's more preliminary. It's more just to feel each other out type of thing. And I see that being the case here with whatever meetings or whatever consortium groups and people he's been meeting with, investment groups. I think it's just more very, very early stages here. And he seems like a guy that's going to take his time. He's taking his time with the stadium rights and the naming rights of the stadium. I see him taking his time here.
And he took his time putting up the stadium as well. Let's not forget that. But look, what I would say, Jack, is I would say, you know, if you're looking at ideal timing, I would say, you know, getting it in place for the summer transfer window would be ideal. You look at Jurgen Klopp's time coming to an end at Liverpool. You know, will they maintain their levels with him gone? You know, you look at Guardiola, his contract coming to an end more or less with 1 season to go at Man City. Will he sign on after being there 5, 6, 7 years? You look at his career, probably not. So, you know, I think, you know, timing is of the essence here if you want to be able to maybe capitalize when these clubs are maybe going through a transitional period. So let's wait and see what happens.
Well, everyone, when Daniel Levy shows up in the news, it's usually the case that you do have to talk about it or reference it in some way. He's come out with some quotes saying that he is thinking about outside investment. And I think Dave and I are saying, you know, could be nothing, could be something. We'll see and find out, but it would be great timing for this summer and what the squad needs for sure. And in the next video, everyone, we are going to be discussing what sort of investment and what sort of players we can bring to that front three and how we can change it for Ange Postecoglou. But if you can for us, smash that like button, do get your comments in, and let us know your thoughts on whether you think Daniel Levy is actually serious this time about the outside investment. Because so many times we've done these videos, kind of just ended up really bubbling up to nothing. And maybe it will be something this time. So I think we're proceeding with caution here. But big up to everyone. Really appreciate your support. And we'll be seeing you next time. Come on, you Spurs. In the big Ange we trust. We never stop.
Everywhere we go.